Welcome to TRN Podcast, episode 125. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, and we've got two main stories that caught our eye.
That's right. What are we looking at today?
First up, there's an ongoing fire situation in Niederkassel. It's affecting air quality in the Rhein-Sieg district and the southern Rhine-Erft area, too.
Okay, a local emergency situation. And the second thing?
The second is something quite different. It's about the General Anzeiger Bonn website, the local newspaper.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, it looks like they've changed things. You now get a message about needing a subscription for online access or, alternatively, opting in for advertising.
Ah, the classic paywall or ads dilemma. Okay.
Exactly. So let's maybe unpack these two a bit. Look at the details and what it all means.
Sounds good. Let's start with the fire. That seems pretty urgent. What are the initial reports saying?
Okay, so the first alarm came in around 11:40 a.m. It was reported as a car fire inside a hall on Nicholas Autostrasse in Niederkassel-Mondorf.
Just a car fire initially.
That was the initial report, yeah. But it seems things escalated quite rapidly from there.
How so?
Well, the fire departments from Niederkassel and Troisdorf raised the alarm level pretty quickly to the highest one, B5.
B5. Wow, okay, that definitely points to something much bigger than a single car.
For sure. The reports then mentioned it was at a company dealing with auto parts, and an entire hall was completely engulfed in flames.
An auto parts company. That explains the scale, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of flammable materials, I imagine?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, one person was injured.
Oh, no.
Apparently, they tried to put the fire out themselves before the fire department arrived, got slightly injured in the attempt.
Understandable, but always risky. Was the fire under control quickly?
Well, as of about 12:45 p.m., the report stated it was not yet under control.
Right, okay. So a serious ongoing situation at that point.
Definitely. And that leads to the next point, the smoke.
Yes, always a major concern with large fires. What about warnings?
They issued a Eine alert, the National Warning System app.
Yeah, got it on my phone.
It warned about smoke drifting over parts of the Rhein-Sieg district, specifically Niederkassel, Bornheim, Alfter, Troisdorf, and Bonn itself.
And the southern Rhine-Erft district, too, you mentioned.
That's right. So quite a large area potentially affected by this smoke plume.
And what did the warning say about health risks? That's always the key worry.
It explicitly stated that health impairments couldn't be ruled out.
Okay, so they were advising caution.
Exactly. The advice was pretty standard for this kind of thing. Close windows and doors, switch off air conditioning and ventilation systems.
Makes sense. Keep the outside air out.
And they also advised people to tune into local radio for further updates.
Good advice. Staying informed is crucial. Were there any special resources called in?
Yes, they requested a fire support vehicle from Siegburg. It's described as a remote-controlled tracked vehicle with a water cannon.
Ah, one of those robotic units. Smart.
Yeah, the idea being it can get closer to the blaze without endangering personnel.
Good thinking. And medical backup.
3 ambulances and 2 emergency doctors were deployed to the scene as well.
Right. Standard procedure for a major incident like this. Covers potential injuries to firefighters or others.
And visually, people could see this dark column of smoke hanging over the district. Not a pleasant sight, I'm sure.
No, definitely not. You mentioned air quality checks.
Yes, teams were apparently on site monitoring the air, checking the burden on breathable air.
That's crucial, getting actual data on what's in the smoke.
Absolutely. And interestingly, there was a mention of a news podcast title somewhere. Something like, "Due to major fire in Niederkassel, all clear for smoke gases."
Oh. So that suggests maybe later updates indicated the smoke wasn't as harmful as initially feared or dissipated?
It could imply that, yes, we don't have a content of that specific podcast, but the title suggests a potential all clear or at least updated information regarding the smoke gases might have come later.
Interesting. Shows how quickly the situation, or at least the information flow, can evolve.
Yeah.
Okay, so that covers the fire situation for now. Shall we move on to the General Anzeiger website?
Yeah, let's switch gears. So this is my experience. I registered an account on their website, game.de, successfully.
Okay.
And immediately got a message saying my account doesn't have an online access subscription.
Right. The paywall message.
Basically, yeah. It said
Yeah.
to contact customer service if I thought this was an error, but then it laid out the options for actually accessing the content.
So what were the choices? This is relevant for anyone wanting to read their local news online.
3 main options. First, if you're already a print subscriber.
You can activate online access for free.
Exactly. Pretty standard offer these days. Link the print to digital.
Makes sense. Option 2.
Option 2 is called Continue with GA+. This lets you read the general Anzeiger, including all their premium GA Plus articles.
The paid digital subscription, what's the deal there?
It mentioned reduced advertising and no personalized ad tracking.
Right.
The cost was listed as €1 per week, cancelable monthly.
€1 a week.
Okay. And they were offering a 50% discount currently, so even cheaper initially.
Right, so pay a bit, get full access, fewer ads, less tracking. Seems straightforward. And the third option?
The third was continue with advertising.
The free route.
Yep. You can continue reading the freely available part of the website, jolie.de, but you have to accept advertising and tracking.
So the trade-off is your data and seeing ads for free access to some content.
Precisely. And you have to agree to their terms of use for that.
Did they explain the rationale behind the continue with advertising option?
They did. Under a heading like, what does reading with advertising mean? They explained that it's about financing the journalistic content.
So advertising revenue supports the free content alongside the paid subscription model.
Exactly. They even mentioned the legal basis, something about GDPR Article 6, related to contracts and providing the service.
Okay, so they're positioning it as a necessary way to fund the journalism if you don't subscribe. It reflects that wider challenge for news outlets online, doesn't it? Finding sustainable models.
It really does. And they went into a bit more detail about the tracking.
Oh yeah, what did they say?
They mentioned using cookies, device IDs, and similar tech, both themselves and their partners, placing these on users' devices.
Standard practice for online advertising and analytics, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the stated purposes were pretty typical, too, showing targeted ads and content, improving the website's usability, developing new products.
All sounds familiar. Data for personalization and business development.
One point that stood out was the mention of potential data transfer to third countries outside the EU.
Under Article 49 of GDPR. That's always a bit of a flag for privacy-conscious users. Transferring data outside the EU's stricter protection rules.
Right. It's something people should be aware of when they consent to the free ad-supported model.
Absolutely. Did they mention anything about revoking consent users' rights?
Yes, they did mention a revocation policy, Widerrufbellerung.
Yeah.
So the information about rights seems to be there, which is important for transparency.
Good. So users should be able to find out how to manage their consent later if they choose the ad-supported option.
Seems like it. So that wraps up the two main stories we wanted to look at today. The fire in Niederkassel, impacting air quality, and the new online access setup for the General Anzeiger Bahn.
Yeah, two very different kinds of news, but both hitting close to home for people in the region today.
Definitely. One is an immediate safety concern. The other is about how we access local information in the digital age.
It really highlights that contrast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a crisis like the fire, you need fast, reliable, easily accessible information, public warnings, safety advice.
Absolutely critical.
But then, for the day-to-day local news coverage provided by outlets like the General Anzeiger, there's this ongoing question of funding quality journalism.
Which leads directly to these models, paywalls, subscriptions, or agreeing to advertising and data tracking.
Precisely. It kind of forces you to think about the value you place on professional journalism versus, free access with those trade-offs.
That's a really good point to leave our listeners with. It's worth considering maybe how we each access information, especially local news and emergency alerts. What sources do we rely on?
And how do we feel about the different ways that information is funded or delivered? Are we okay with the ads and tracking for free content? Or is paying for a subscription becoming more necessary to support the kind of in-depth local reporting we might need, especially when things go wrong?
Something to definitely mull over as we navigate our information landscape.